Welcome back to Earth. I heard you're allowed back on it.
Yeah, coming to you post positive COVID diagnosis.
Yo, how did it feel?
I'm a statistic.
Live from a Zoom meeting recorded weeks ago, it's Phoenix. Tonight, will Phoenix survive the quarantine? Find out with your co-hosts Emily Astril and professional self-isolationist, your host, Russ Kazmierzak.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of Phoenix. Tonight, the podcast that asks the hard-hitting questions like, will the Phoenix art scene survive COVID-19? My name is Russ. I'm your host. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with my co-host, Emily. Hey, Emily, what's going on?
What is going on? You took a week break off. I started a YouTube channel called The Happy Dead Pixel. It's a gaming channel about Rocket League. Yup, self-promoting. Shameless plug.
Can you explain to this old man what Rocket League is? Is that some sort of newfangled video game that you kids play?
This game's 5 years old. It's car soccer, technically. But it's more like hockey, to be honest. It's in like a ring that's like a hockey stadium. And you can just demolition. Like, it actually has a lot of tactics like hockey, unlike soccer. Because, you know, when you see soccer, you see two people bump and one goes, they're like, oh. Hockey, it's like, oh, you hit me? Well, I'll hit you back later. Bang. Take that.
Wow, okay. We've come a long way from Paperboy, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Nothing like a little bunch of cars chasing a ball, you know? Just like, I spent hours. It's helping me through this Corona thing.
Oh, very good. Well, I'll tell you what, while you were playing video games, I was suffering the effects of COVID-19. Tested positive, everybody. Yes, indeed. I'm a statistic. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody told me, these are dark times. You have to stay positive. And I said, okay. So I went to Banner Health, and they gave me that positive result. So, a lot of people would say that's what you get for going out and seeing Sinbad at the Tempe Improv.
Yo, I'm still jealous. I would have gone to see Sinbad.
Worth it. It was worth it.
It was. But I salute you, my friend. You is still around.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. It's interesting, the symptoms. You get flush, you have a little fever, shortness of breath. It's actually like being in the same room as Chris Hemsworth. It's the same symptoms, really. I mean...
But you made it out. That's the sad part.
Right. And if I were in a room with Chris Hemsworth, I don't know if I would. So... I probably would come out, but in a different way. It's he's a handsome man, is what I'm saying. He is
No, I can imagine you like sitcom. You know when people get scared, like the last person they ever want to see, and there's like 3 or 4 people, and they all run to the door, and the door's locked, and they're just like fighting the door or trying to kick the door. That's what you would be doing.
Yep, absolutely. It was, a harrowing experience. 2 weeks. Off my feet. Actually, we recorded the last episode in the middle of the first week I was exhibiting symptoms. So if you watch that episode now, you'll see the dry cough, probably a little cold sweat, shortness of breath, and you can diagnose that very easily as the beginning of those symptoms. My girlfriend and I, we got tested that Friday. We got our results a week later, and I was telling you before we started the show that basically we got our results at what would have been the end of that natural 14-day cycle that you keep hearing about. I mean, the letter I got from the doctor was a form letter to my employer that said, look, this guy's allowed back to work after 10 days of the first day of his initial symptoms and 72 subsequent symptom-free hours. So that's 13, 14 days. So you are off your feet for 2 weeks. And my controversial opinion coming out of it is, if the average person like me, 40 years old, I don't have any significant health issues. I'm not a smoker, not a big drinker, but, if it takes 2 weeks to recover, is that worth shutting everything down for a month? That's the controversial question that my experience left me with. I'm not answering it for anybody right now. I'm just posing it because a lot of people have clearly made up their mind about that already.
Yeah.
And hey, not something you wish on somebody, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? The survival rate is a lot higher than the alternative. So
it is. It's
this
crazy.
might just be our flu season 2.0 next year. Everybody's talking about 2020 as if on January 1st, 2021, this is going to be over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think giving it our own projected timeline is one of the most dangerous things of all. We got to look at it day by day, but then we got to look big picture too and think, okay, if this is going to happen to us seasonally, we need to be prepared accordingly. It's like the school year right now. They're talking about delaying the school year. Again. And we're in the midst of summer. I know teachers want to take a break, but this is a time to strategize and look at what a realistic 2021 school year is going to look like. And, I know that schools don't have the most cutting edge technology at their disposal, but you can at least utilize the stuff that we have with the time that you're allocated right now and prepare for this rather than just sitting on our hands and waiting for the governor or the president or whoever to say, okay, go back to the way it was. We got to start adapting here. That's what humanity's about. I think that's what America's about. And soapbox over.
Well, the crazy thing is not that people want to predict the future. I think it's the thing that sucks really bad because I don't think you were one of the friends. But I remember I was one of the ones who did say, I was like, we're going to hit 100K. And I remember some people were telling me, they're like, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. Remember, like, the heat was supposed to kill COVID? Well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. But it's just, like, it's crazy because, like, I don't like predicting the future. Just, because sometimes some of these things, I just say them and I don't expect them. Like, I do remember what I say. And it's hard when you're like, yeah, we're going to hit 100K. And literally 2 or 3 days ago, because this video is going to be posted tomorrow or maybe 4 days ago, boom, we hit the number. And I was like, I wasn't surprised, but it was like, oh no, it happened. But it was kind of crazy because you kind of technically predicted your own demise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you did. I really think you did. Like, you're like, who knows? I could probably end up with it. And you're like, boop, you and the missus.
Well, yeah, because, we were out and about.
Yeah, but you took the chance. So you did because you're like, you know what? I'm taking the chance. I'm just going to do it. But besides that, you knew you were taking a chance. But the thing that bothers me is it's the testing. Testing is too damn slow. Like a week. It's like, okay, so you had it for 1 week. That could have probably gave you an advantage because, you can still be one of the ones that end up in a hospital. But I think you ended up in the hospital, but not that bad. And it wasn't that bad for you two. But it's, it's one of those things. I think the test needs to come back, the next day or at least within 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, I think that speaks to how strained resources are right now.
Yeah.
And, just to speak to my own prophecy here, my own self-fulfilling prophecy, it's interesting that, as I shared with some friends that I had tested positive, they started tracing my steps back to where the cause might be. Oh, is it when you went to the comedy club? Is it when you went to the casino? Is it when you went to karaoke? And it's like, look, it could have been when I ran to Target. It could have been when I went to the grocery store. It could have been when I got gas. I mean, yes, we should be living a different kind of lifestyle right now. I guess a little more conservative as far as our activities and exposure to other people. But again, if this is going to be a flu season 2.0, we got to figure out how that works in cooperation with the lifestyle we're used to and the economy that we're used to.
Yeah.
I don't think it's controversial to have that opinion, that there has to be a way to live this new normal in cooperation with the fundamentals that keep our culture moving. And that's the point of this podcast is, at the end of the day, is Phoenix going to lose some of those cornerstone events, some of those key aspects of our culture that define us as a growing city of the arts, because we are, or at least we were. Now, if it's all streaming, it's not geographically specific at all. It's just the internet now.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like,
that's by the way, a side effect of COVID-19 is aimless ranting.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But I was gonna say, though, like, I feel like, we didn't jump early on the COVID-19, like, let's do this podcast. I think the breathing room was kind of necessary, but I feel like we're kind of doing this to keep some relevancy. Like, we're still being this is somewhat our trait, this kind of thing, standing on our soapbox, not politically, more comedy and more, all that other stuff. This is a thing that, even I've told you, and I've said it on here, like, me and my DJ partner do live streams at least once a month. We do it just to keep it special, because we've never played live, but we're just sending the message to our friends, hey, we're still trying to do this, but we still got our lives. And it's kind of a weird thing, because we don't want to overuse it. It's like, do it every once a week or every twice a week. We want to kind of keep it special. This is different. This is a podcast. We want to keep up with relevant times. And me, I love doing this podcast, the day before, because then the show is really relevant.
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing this since April, right? Yeah. So we've been chronicling in real time what is happening in Phoenix tonight. And it's interesting, every week, we've only taken one break so far, which isn't bad as far as podcasts go.
Well, that was because of sickness, and I don't blame you. You were sick. There was a sick day, unnecessary sick day.
The podcast stayed at home. Yeah. But it's interesting that every time we sit down to talk, I think back on what's happened over the last 7 days, or since we last recorded, and it's like it's a completely different every time. It's a completely different context. I mean, 2-3 weeks ago, the state was essentially open. Then the governor initiates, and it's still not quite a stay-at-home order. I mean, is it technically a pause on bars and fitness centers and stuff like that? So, I mean, so that's where we're at now. In a week, we could be full-on stay-at-home order again. In a month, it could be curfew, and we just don't know what's happening week by week. And I mean, I don't want to say it's awesome. I don't want to say it's exciting, because those are like really insensitive words considering the context. But it's definitely interesting to experience, to try to chronicle this when it is so changing. Yeah. It makes me kind of empathize with the 24-hour news cycle and how they always need something to talk about. Well, now they got it. They kind of got the content they've been yearning for. So it's coming at it fast and furious. And there's an election going on, and there's racial strife across the country. I mean,
the racial strife is crazy. I mean, I posted something on my my Instagram stories and Facebook stories. I mean, I don't want to be controversial, but let's just say I'm excluded from some things you would think some friends would ask for my help or something, or my opinion or anything.
Sure.
It's crazy. I don't know what to say, but in general, like, we're in insanity mode, but at the same time, like, I'm happy for this podcast. I'm happy for having an awesome friend, because, the crazy thing was, we haven't talked technically to each other before the podcast. Like, now this is like our weekly chat, our pre-talk, and then we get into this and all that other stuff. And, we just hope that the gift of gab is there. Some jokes are set up. I've said it a dozen times, not all of them, but, pick the ones that you think are set up and the ones aren't. Sometimes they're more noticeable, but sometimes they're not. But it is one of those things where, like, I think we're trying to hold our ground, because, this is a funny thing. There's, like, equipment things I want to buy, but right now I can't buy them because they're sold out and they're on back order and all those other things. Like, I want to buy some microphones. I'm ready to do this at, like, a cafe, one night, or in the daytime, whenever, have a setup to transfer, and that microphone setup's going to help me regardless with my music too, and my other YouTube channel. So it's a win-win, this microphone setup. But it's crazy because, like you said, tomorrow we could be on complete lockdown and it's a complete restart again, and that sucks. And I hope that doesn't happen. If anything, I'm more worried about the second protest group coming in again. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but I don't want it to happen. Because we live by it, and it was getting real close to us because they were supposed to have the protest at Camelback Indian Steel Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was going to start getting close to us too.
Yeah.
I kind of revealed where we lived, but
we're Midtown Phoenix. I think that's a big enough area.
Yeah.
If they had done the fireworks in Indian Steel Park on 4th of July, we can go on our roof and watch them from here as if we were at the park. So
yeah,
we're pretty close. And
oh, how was your 4th of July, by the way? I was pet sitting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, ours was pretty non-existent. We heard plenty of fireworks, and it was finally nice to feel like I was a part of the conspiratorial narrative that's going on across the country. Our scheduled fireworks in 3, 2, 1. Okay, I feel conditioned by the government now. Thank you, and I'll hear you tomorrow night. No, yeah, plenty of fireworks all around us and everything, but what are you supposed to do? We stayed at home.
Yeah, it was crazy, right? Like this year. And what's the crazy thing about 4th of July? This is a little bit of my journalism. There was a lot of people who refused to be considered Americans or refused to celebrate 4th of July. And it's like, well, it's kind of useless because technically they canceled 4th of July. A lot of states admitted that they canceled 4th of July because of everything that's happening. Sure. And it's I don't know if that protest works. So, but it's I'll go with it. I'm with you with this one. Sure, let's go with this.
Right.
Not like I just made a post on my Instagram stories talking about I'm an American and all these other things,
Oh, it's not cool right now. It's not cool to be American right now.
Yeah, I know. But what's the best part is I feel bad for everyone that's super supportive of the whole thing that's going on with protesting and Black Lives Matter, and they're in a different country. Because that's the thing where here in America, you get ingrained, you depend on your heritage. But then when you go to a different country, you pull that card, they're like, stop. Where were you born? And they're like, I'm America. And they're like, then you're an American. You're not Mexican. Right. You're not this or that. It's you're an American. Wow. And that happened to me with my Japanese girlfriend.
Really?
That was the big breakup because she's like, you're an American. You need to stop being shameful about it. And I was like, whoa. So yeah, but my relationship with her because of that, because she was like, you don't have, she's like, I knew Americans like to act like they weren't Americans, but she's like, I didn't realize this, and I think I killed her love for Americans.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Was she listen, go watch Bowling for Columbine in your herbal garden, and didn't.
It's the best though. I'm just but it was just it was such a slap in the face, Now I've always had that. I've had a lot of people from around the world do that to me, it's that thing. As an American, we do that, and it's in realization, if all of us went back, quote unquote, back home, I'm stuck here because I'm so mixed.
Sure.
That kid that gets the soda machine and just goes.
You are the suicide drink of. Well, what's interesting is we compartmentalize all of these issues, right? There's the Black Lives Matter movement, and then there's the pro-masks COVID-19 movement that's going on right now. There's Republican versus Democrat, and that stuff's going on right now. We never really draw a through line. It would be very interesting now. It would be very interesting to discuss immigration in the context of Black Lives Matter. Immigration is not in the news cycle right now. It's not a big issue. Maybe give it 6 months as we get a little closer to election day and it'll be back. But we're not talking immigration. And it would be very interesting to hear somebody that is pro-open borders, kind of pro-dreamer, pro-immigration in the context of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is asserting that America is regressing in its acceptance of diversity. Is this a place we want to encourage people to come to if all they're going to encounter is prejudice and bigotry?
Yeah.
To me, it seems like the Black Lives Matter movement would discourage immigration, as we've heard it described in the past in the context of SB 1070 and stuff, because you don't want to come here. You're not going to find that dream here. So you're better off finding it at home or maybe going to Canada. Because we don't draw a through line through these issues, there is no general, and narrative is such an overused word, but there is no general narrative that describes the agenda of any one political party. It's compartmentalized to the extreme, and it's not gonna solve anything. It's just gonna present problem after problem. I've always believed that the point right now is not to win a war. The point is to win the point is to win battle after battle and to celebrate those victories accordingly. Yeah. There is no war to be won anymore because we don't see a big picture. We operate on little hills instead of trying to conquer the mountain, and it's unfortunate.
Well, I was gonna say, like, my big concern about what is technically, it's crazy because there's also the far left versus the Democrats, which is a crazy thing. I've never thought would ever happen in my life. I would have thought that would have happened with the conservatives and then the far right.
Sure.
No, it happened with the left. But the other thing was, it's there was that moment where things were so pro everything that some things started feeling segregated. Remember, that was just a couple of days ago. It's this is only for this group of people, and it's that's some technically segregation. That's technically racism. If anything is not even technical, it's it's logically and a bunch of really, really deep words that it's a no-no, and it's we should just be open. And we were kind of and I think a lot of people kind of caught on because it doesn't seem that bad. And I'm not talking about Black Lives Matters, but it was just oh, this is only meant for blank. And it was that's some kind of technically segregation. But this is the hippy dippy version of it. Kind of funny for me to say that with an adage shirt on, but it was a weird thing. Because someone told me, they're you live in downtown and Midtown. I would have expected you to be helping friends, or your friends would be asking you for if you could help out because technically you're trans, and right now there's a trans movement happening in downtown, and I wasn't invited.
Oh man!
So it's oh, we're doing this trans thing. I'm as the crowd passes,
well, I'll tell you what. It's not like every St. Patrick's Day I'm getting an invitation from the local pubs. You know what I mean? So
hey, I know your pain now, my dude. I know your pain.
Oh yeah.
Besides that, I can't wait for the new normal or somewhat normal. You know what I've been thinking about doing? Going surfing again.
Ooh.
I put that away to the side for a long time. I think I'm gonna buy a truck or a decent SUV, buy one of those racks, and then buy my own personal surfboard because I know the surfboard sizes I like, and start doing surfboard trips.
Wow.
Yeah, if anything,
has COVID turned you into Matthew McConaughey? Holy cow! I had no idea.
Yeah, nothing like this. This trans mix goth, whatever the hell this thing is, going surfing.
I think you're so consumed by your multi-ethnic background that now you want to add every cultural niche to your resume as well. You want to get Surfer in there somehow. You want to squeeze Surfer into the smorgasbord of who you are? What are you talking about?
Actually, that's the funny thing. A lot of people don't know that I can actually surf.
Really?
Yeah, that's actually one of those weird things I know. But I used to have a boogie board in Hawaii. So
wow, very cool. Now I've been told I can hang 10, but it has nothing to do with surfing. Listen, we got a guest this episode. What are we doing here? We have a guest. One of my favorite local comedians, actually. I'm really excited that he's agreed to join us. And we've been talking about this for a few weeks. We had to postpone last week because of COVID. So I'm happy that he's here with us now to talk about what he's thinking is the future of the local stand-up scene. Kevin Gilroy is about to join us, ladies and gentlemen. So from the comfort of your own homes, put your hands together, and we're going to bring him in here in a moment. Oh, your microphone. I think you got to hit your microphone.
Can I unmute him? Oh, I can unmute him. Oh, wait.
Oh.
Unmute.
Something happened for a second.
There we go. For a reason, there we go.
Kevin, you on?
He's so professional. Yeah, he has a curtain in the back. Look. He has a backdrop, like a talk show. We're the talk show. We have nothing.
That's my wrinkly green screen. As you can see, it's still wrinkled.
It works great. Unbelievable. Welcome to our humble little show here, Kevin.
Howdy.
How are you?
Doing good.
Appreciate you taking the time. I know you might have rearranged some things for us tonight, so I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I work for myself. It's just depending on like when I want to work. So.
Oh, very good. Very cool. Okay.
I drive for Amazon. I feel like it.
How many Zooms have you done since March?
I was checking. I actually haven't done any Zooms. I guess we did Skype.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
So I did one, and it's a lot of fun trying to figure out, where to look and how loud you need to talk,
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out. So for our dozens of viewers, both present and in the future, since this will exist forever on YouTube, tell us a little bit about your history and stand-up here in the Valley. It started here in the Valley, right?
Yes, it did. Yes. I think it's going on 4 years now. 4 like lazy years. I say lazy because I didn't put much effort in it for like the first few years. I started with actually work with a radio show. Just one of those guys that annoys the radio show. Sending in jokes and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, you're funny. You should go on stage." So I spent 2 years studying. I was at least smart. It's like, well, I'm gonna study this and see all this and that. But then, the first time I went on stage, let's just say it was really bad. So, I got all the jokes out, but I didn't say one punchline. So,
oh gosh,
I kind of confused the audience. But then I was brave enough to go back to the radio station the next day and like just post it to their Facebook page. And ever since then, that radio station has called me Arizona's worst comedian. So.
Oh my God, you had that? I didn't know that. You had that distinction from your first night on stage.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would say a bunch of setups with no punchlines just makes you an alt comic. No.
It's interesting. Like, wow, this audience is weird. I realized they're confused because none of this makes any sense. That and I've learned to control my cussing when I get nervous. But let's just say that night I kind of broke a record with the F-bomb. So
sure. So you've been at a lazy grind, I guess, for the last 4 or 5 years or so, and you were hosting an open mic at Toso's.
We were, until this happened,
Right.
And so I just kind of think everything's up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows
sure.
where we're coming back to?
So we've been, recording this podcast for the last 8-9 weeks, and we've talked to a couple of different people from different areas of Phoenix culture. And I'm kind of curious, as we were getting into March and you were, going pretty steadily with that open mic, what was the conversation like when the time came to pause, as our governor would say?
Well, at first, I was kind of like on the, kind of affected me. Like, is this real? 'Cause, I was kind of like believing like an election's coming up. This seems really weird that the same day the Democratic, thing was going on, that they're trying to elect, nominate and that. And I was like, but then you realize, no, this is too real,
Sure.
And Tosos and I have taken the, let's just be better safe than sorry. They opened the bar once and we did go like, kind of went there to like, hey, we're going to support you. But then after the fact, like, that's kind of a bad idea, 'cause we had probably 12 comedians all sitting next to each other, no masks. We're like, nah,
Sure.
I shouldn't do this anymore.
So it was a very easy mutual decision
Yeah.
among your regulars in the bar. And
Yeah, I think most people are understanding, or most people are like, this is life or death. Let's just not risk it for 5 minutes of comedy. That's how I see it. It's like, this is hard enough as it is. Do you want to get sick and die from it? It's
right. You're used to dying on stage.
Exactly.
It's not,
Exactly.
die in real life. So when the stay-at-home order was lifted at the end of April, did the open mic resume in May?
No, because here's something I'll tell you, and I don't know if you've noticed, because it's kind of quiet. There are bars that are breaking the rules and kind of being shut down, because technically a bar is not supposed to be open. They've been getting away with like, well, we're a restaurant too. Well, you can do that. And so we've had one, I won't say their name because, it's bad publicity for them, but they are trying to come back as the original intended, as just a restaurant that serves food, but they're fighting that right now because the liquor board told them so. So, and I don't know if you've, Tosos unfortunately had a guy doing some shady stuff with a poker game. So Tosos doesn't want to take any risks,
Wow.
At first they were just sticking when the stay-at-home order. They're like, no, let's not. Maybe into July or so. And and other people are kind of putting on shows, but at the same time, it's just a pain in the neck, kind of in a way. So I don't know. I don't think it's worth the risk personally right now. I mean, you got to do this, do some Zoom shows. It's a challenge.
I was saying, what do you think about this format? I mean, having an audience, and not having an audience reaction to your jokes. And I know some open micers are probably used to that, but if you got good material, what do you think about this?
Well, what I've always told comedians, like, because I know, I won't, like the guy that's name dropping, but I know people, and I've known some like really good comedians, and I've been able to go bounce open mics to them, and guys you think would never bomb go to like a good place and they bomb and they're able to brush it off. You're like, wow, that's amazing. So I can use that as an to when I'm doing open mics, like, oh, I had a bad night, or or it really affects them. Like, to be a good comedian, you're always going to have bad nights, and that's why I like this format, because you're going to have those nights where it's not even that you're getting booed or anything, you're just getting no reaction for the audience, and you got to learn to push through that and almost become an actor and like, here's what I do, and just put on your best performance, because that's what's going to happen. I mean, I know not that long ago, Bill Burr had a case where the audience just hated him, so it's always there. So I like this format for that. This makes you perform, as opposed to just, well, I'm just gonna like, here's my joke and blah, 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 and why aren't you laughing? No, you have to put it, and that's always been my weakness is, one thing I've learned, and I'll give you advice to anybody that wants to put on a show, and I've learned this from Pete Giovanni. I say his name because he's a good person. No, he's like the host king, they say. He's like the number one guy at that. And you're responsible for all the energy in the room. So you need to figure out how to do that. And that's why I also like this. This gives you an opportunity to practice bringing it, having the energy and being, not just dead,
Sure.
You gotta be able to do that. Because I noticed, like, since I've run in the mic over a year, that bad nights were a lot of times were my fault. When I was just like,
Wow.
Next guy up, you know, it makes a huge difference. You kind of, you know, you control the show.
Yeah.
And this is perfect for learning how. I think this help you become a better host.
Wow, that's really it's a really refreshing point of view, because oftentimes hosts feel like having that title and responsibility is enough, and it's almost like all the prestige and responsibility ends when they take the stage. But that's really where it begins, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is. That's what peak. I got to do a seminar where he's teaching this, and and that's the main thing he says. You know, even just when you go out there and say your name, he was showing us how to introduce yourself. That is the first thing that you grab the audience's attention with. You know, and you got to be able, you know, to say it, and say it with some confidence and enthusiasm. Like, hey, here I am. Here's the great show. You know.
Right.
I call it the YouTube entrance. Like, I do it myself. So I do a YouTube channel. It's a gaming channel. So I always do like the hyper, like, hey, it's the Happy Dead Pixel. Welcome to my gaming channel. Like stuff like that.
Sure.
But sometimes I feel like I do a really bad job at it myself.
Well, it's become a bit of the social media YouTuber formula to have what sounds like fake enthusiasm, but Kevin, you're nailing it as far as you're kind of selling yourself as the product. So you have to adapt and project in a way that brings people in. If you don't sound like you believe in what you're talking about, then why should other people invest in what you're saying? So
that's the one thing I'm annoyed about. I have YouTube channels. That's the one thing I'm annoyed about is everybody wants that. Everybody complains about, you know, production value. Like, this is free. Why do you care? You know.
It's like going to Costco on a Sunday, taking a sample and saying, "Yeah, it needs a little more salt." You know, if you don't mind.
Where's my plate? Shouldn't this isn't plated very well.
Right. Look at the presentation of this half a corn dog. What
exactly.
is it? So, man, are you just writing away during these last few weeks? I mean, we were just talking. There's so much going on in our state, in the country, in the world. It seems like a never-ending fount of inspiration for comedy. Is it easier to write right now? Is it harder to write?
I don't think that's changed. You almost wish it was true, since you sometimes do have free time. You know, since changing jobs, I was worried about, because I used to work with idiots, and idiots are a great source of material. You know, but you know, driving around town all day delivering, you just notice so much goofy stuff. And you're like, oh, this is gonna be a joke. Let me put some notes down, and then I'll finish it later. But yeah, it's about the same for me. You know.
Yeah.
But I almost need to back down. I think I have some around here. There's like 350 pages, so it's about a time. Maybe I should work on other things right now.
Well, where do you find that it's coming from? I mean, is it the COVID stuff? Is it the Black Lives Matter stuff? Is it the political election? Is it, you know what I mean? What's really coming at you the most aggressively as far as inspiration goes?
I've always kind of ignored that stuff and not wanted to deal with it, because I'll tell you this part of, you know, both of those situations is I get a joke texted to me from somebody who likes to really push the envelope, and you got to be nice and try and say, you can't do that. You can never do that, you know? So,
right.
And I've always been a guy that tries to stay away from the basic pandering jokes. You got to do them, but, you know, I try and stay away from that. So, and I've always been the guy that likes to put a weird twist on everything. Like our friend Kid Ever, he loves my stuff because first time he doesn't get it, then when he thinks about it, he's like, oh, now I understand what this meant. You know? Mostly what I've been doing, like especially for like Zoom shows, is yeah, I love this. You know, every time you go to a stand-up comedy club, you're not allowed to say anything about it, but this place is really a shithole. You know, you really need to do something about this. You know, you can never do that on stage anywhere else.
Right. Oh, that's great. So you think this is going to be it for the future, huh? The Zoom and I mean, the bars are probably, we're talking August, September.
I think,
might be
and
great.
I've been trying, and I kind of lost the idea because I early on I was trying to tell people like we don't have good drive-in theaters here, by the way. You don't
Right.
want to go see it if they're like, hey, we're doing something to drive through a theater. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Get stabbed, pretty much, you know? But like California places that got nice ones, I'm like, if you think about it, perfect thing, and maybe you could figure out something like that. You could have, I don't know, a box truck practically, and the comedian and the cameras and all that are in there, and then people are safely in their cars.
Oh,
But then you got to wonder about the people that are just going to wander off and like ruin that whole thing anyway. So I don't know. I really think this is kind of the future. I think it will help. You know, it'll help Skype, it'll help Zoom, it'll help YouTube if we figure out the best way to do this. I think it'd be great.
I was gonna say real fast. The crazy thing is, music festivals are actually making these like drive-through music festivals now, where they're like tailgate events. So it's not that they stay in the car; they get a designated spot. It's probably like 10 feet by 10 feet, but that's the way it's going with the music industry right now. They actually had one not too long ago at Fireburg Raceway, but the only problem was tickets were about $300 to $500 a pop.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's always gonna be the problem because, like I said, I've always known like pretty good, well-known comics, but when you have a bar that only seats 100 people and he expects the minimum make $2,500, you can't sell $250 tickets to a bar. You know?
Yeah.
That's
You really
the same
gotta push
problem.
those. Gotta push those PBR specials. What do you think? Some people outside of the Valley might be surprised that Phoenix really has a big stand-up comedy scene. What would you say to folks, Kevin, that are surprised by that? Like, what really sets Phoenix apart as a comedy town compared to your staples like San Fran or Boston?
Well, we got such a unique situation here. My friend was into the South Phoenix scene, around Roosevelt Row, and he originally bought a house for first one was $50,000, and he realized he paid too much, and then everyone after that was $10,000. So you got him, all his buddies down there, and he's kind of like a Devo cover band, but not a cover band. It's hard to explain. He does that type of music, and he actually builds instruments for them, and it kind of came from that. Like, I think you lean towards the poetry, and there was that they used to call the scene down there, which was, I would say, like bare bottom. That was almost people that were practically homeless or really low level.
Right.
Doing, I can't remember the name of the place. You probably know of it, where they pretty much you could go do comedy in somebody's backyard, and they had a stage.
Conspire was down there on the corner.
Yeah.
And then, Joe Bot before it went around the corner and became pretty darn legit. Had a grassroots stage up front, on the corner there. Yeah, when I burst into the scene, so to speak, in 2010, I was hitting poetry open mics pretty regularly. That transitioned into slam, and I would say I was trapped in that snare for about 6 months before I realized I just didn't enjoy competitive poetry, I guess, for lack of it. It just seemed very. I just couldn't imagine the likes of a Carl Sandburg or something trying to compete with E.E. Cummings. It just didn't seem right. But I would consider that to be. Are you saying that that's kind of foundational to what the stand-up scene is right now?
I think that's where it originally came from, and then it just grew from that. I think people saw
that. Really wasn't even that long ago, really.
Yeah, it kind of went fast because you're saying, I can't remember the year. It was huge in South Phoenix. It got kind of big. I remember there was a pretty nice looking laundromat where you could go perform music and stuff, and it got pretty legitimate for a while. And I don't know if maybe part of that breaking up and people spreading out is what caused what we have now, which is, I think it's just kind of word of mouth too. One guy's like, hey, I found this bar that'll let me do comedy. He's like, hey, I should go find another bar that lets me do comedy,
Interesting. Cool. And we've had, Phoenix has its, David Spade is from Scottsdale, and Who else? We got anybody else? Maybe it's just
Dave Chappelle, not Dave Chappelle, sorry. Hannibal Burris' sister lives here. So
oh, really?
On rare occasions, he sometimes will pop up in the little open mics too, you know.
Is that right?
I have yet to
and of course. And then is it Jimmy Kimmel's sister Jill?
Yeah, Jill Kimmel's here. Well, we got the biggest one as for like doing TV and stuff. I recently met is of course now my name went Frank Caliendo. There you go, Frank Caliendo.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
He's probably like,
so yeah, we got a few.
Yeah.
The thing about when you hear a Boston comic, you know a Boston comic. I don't know if a Phoenix comic has a specific voice that would identify them to Phoenix per se. I mean, what do you?
I'd have to say, and yeah, that's the thing. I think we're unique to where we have everything because Phoenix is that. Phoenix is people from everywhere. Like, and you like our defining comic as in coming from the ground up would be Longfellow. I can't think. Michael Longfellow might be his name.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, he would be the top one of us to go out there and actually start touring and doing stuff. And then you got, just how, like what we're doing right now, you have the future, which is different. So you have podcasts. I don't know if you know, like Jimmy Wisman and James Petrogallo. They have two huge podcasts, Crime and Sports and Small Town Murder. And when this isn't happening, they're touring everywhere. They're just constantly on the road, you know.
Oh, wow.
So.
Well, our dozen viewers just got those free plugs. So when they get that Phoenix Tonight bump, it'll all come back here. So what's in your future, Kevin? You got anything lined up? Any shows or?
I need to probably get back on the finding Zoom and different shows. I'm also tempted, but I've seen it done wrong, so I'd hate to. I don't know how great my picture looks here. It looks kind of fuzzy and bad to me, but I've been thinking about doing an online open mic too.
I was gonna say you should try Twitch. It has a very predominant scene for open, like just self open mics and stuff. I do DJ sets on Twitch, so yeah, I highly recommend it because you can. I'm not gonna say you're gonna get fan feedback, but you will see posts and see people if they like it or not by just simple like. What are the emojis? Like, oh, that emoji is a good emoji. Oh, that's a bad emoji. Because people just will tell you their emotion right then and there. It's kind of
always good.
I'll definitely check that out because I know that is key. I mean, you can post the same meme on Facebook or Instagram, and Instagram, it's huge. And you don't even have that many more fans or friends on that, but Instagram seems to be the place to be. So, and I have to maybe agree with Twitch. The only thing I watch on there is like Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith stuff. So
you watch those guys unboxing stuff all day.
Exactly.
No, I thought he was looking at like certain girls, almost pretty much next to naked. That's all I was expecting. Oh. This is Twitch. That's a normal thing.
Is that where it got its name?
I wish.
There are like real shows too on TBS right now that are this format. The Tournament of Laughs is like this right now. There's a celebrity, I think it's called Celebrity Show Off that Kevin Smith is a part of, and they're doing homemade skits and videos with their iPhones and I think that's what makes this time interesting is it's kind of a great equalizer. You're talking about if you have a fuzzy, anybody. This looks like anything that could be on TV right now.
Yeah.
Regardless of the quality and content. You never know. It could be the kind of thing where people have talked about the death of network TV. This could be a big contributing factor because everything's going to look like this anyway. So why pay when you could jump on YouTube and Twitch and just get it for free?
Exactly.
Pretty wild. Well, Kevin, what's your social media stuff? Let's share that with folks if we can. And
let's see, Instagram is Kevin L. Gilroy, I guess at Instagram or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I do have a Kevin Gilroy fan page on Facebook. I have a personal one, but that's kind of like I won't accept your friend request, and it's kind of private. It's just people I work with because especially right now with all the political stuff. You just kind of like,
Sure.
And I'm not going to wear a mask. Stop. I'm like, I just had to unfollow a lot of people. We're still friends. You might not be on the list, but I see stuff, you know.
Well, cool. We want to direct folks there. I'll just plug my Instagram real quick because we'll wrap up the show at Amazing AZ Comics. I actually have some things coming up next week, so you can find more information out about that at Amazing AZ Comics. And Emily?
I'm at Emily Estrell. You're going to see every Twitch and YouTube thing I'll be doing for a while. Hopefully I get to play on a stage again too, just like this amazing person. But yeah, this was a fun one. I learned a lot from you today. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not, but in reality, I did learn how, I need to work on my presentation. I mean, certain little things like that, but those are very helpful cues. This is actually a very, very helpful podcast. So if you're watching this, I hope you're getting some advice and some little tidbits from our amazing guest, Kevin.
Cool.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll catch you next time.